What's up YouTube, and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It? If you didn't catch my last video, please go check it out. I'll put a link in the card and a link in the description so that you can check it out. I think it was a really good and informative video about the Project Manager Planner from KAISER Studio Productions, and you should definitely go and check it out. Now, moving on to episode 2, we are going to be looking at this sketchbook. Okay, so this is Crescantart's Render sketchbook, live flat sketchbook. They have a multitude of different types of sketchbooks. They have hardbound, they have softbound, they have this one which is very flexible. They have individual papers, and this is supposedly a really good product. So I came across these guys at a convention, and the thing that they told me was that it is bleed-proof paper. Now, as a person who is constantly going through markers and trying markers and paper, trying to get the best quality out of them, I have to say that bleed proof does not mean bleed proof. It means like bleed less. Or when you're working on it in the front, it doesn't bleed through the paper, right? But when I'm looking for something that says that it is bleed proof and doesn't go to the other side like the Render product is claiming, I expect it to not go through the other side. What I'm really hoping for is that I can actually draw and marker and saturate this paper, and then once it's dry, I can actually draw on the other page or the other side of the page and do the exact same thing. So that is what I'm hoping, that is what it is claiming here. And so I'm really excited about testing out this paper to see if it's actually worth the cost of this product and if what they are claiming is true. It also says that they can use with all medium, and it's got a spray can on here, markers, pencil, charcoal, paint, and ink. So we're gonna test out a couple supplies, and then we're gonna see if it holds up to the claim, okay? So the first thing that I noticed about this is that it's actually cellophane wrapped. So they're really trying to protect your paper, so that's always a good start. Protection over everything. I tend to hate these because they don't come off as easy, but this one was pretty good. All right, get that out of here. Then we have a nice like satin black paper, right? Really slick, real nice. The paper is really bright white. Okay, it's not some faded color. Let's see. The paper is nice and thick. I don't know if you guys can hear that here. All right, so the paper is nice and thick, got a lot of pages in it. So I'm looking forward. Let's see, we're gonna start this first page, and yeah, let's get into the art. Let's see what we can do with it, okay? All right, so here we are with the first page, and we're gonna use just a regular pencil, and we're gonna just see how well it holds a pencil. Okay, I'm using a 2H. It's really accepting that pencil really well. Not too, not too light, not too dark. Right? With some paper, you realize that your pencil can't actually put the graphite down, so that's good. See if we can smear it a little bit. Yep. Do that. And I mean, I'm using, like I said, I'm using a 2H, so you're not really going to smear much, but it has a smooth enough surface on this paper to where you can actually come in with a 2H and still smooth it down, right? So that's good. You can really get some nice lines going. All right, so that's good. Seems like it takes pencil really well. Okay. So then let's go over to, I have a Le Pen 05 ink pen, right? And we're just gonna try and make some marks. Seems to holds ink really well, doesn't leave it stay on the surface, dries really quick, right? So it accepts the ink really, really fast, which is great. Really allows you to, okay, I'm going to put a lot down. All right, sometimes we don't want to use the actual ink that we're supposed to fill in our blacks. So we use the pen. Okay, made that, second or two. All right, so it does stay on the top a little bit if you put a lot of ink. So I mean, I don't really blame the paper for that. You know, if you put down a lot of wet medium, you're gonna have to let it dry. So that's fine. But it really does accept the ink. I mean, really well. It allows the ink to just lay flat on the paper. It stays pretty vibrant. I mean, that's pretty good, right? It's a very nice paper. I mean, my pen seems to be dying, but right, it just really is accepting this pen. So that's good. Good. Okay, so the paper, I mean, it seems really good. A really nice paper. Okay, we're going to test the marker. This is where it truly comes in. So I'm actually gonna test it with a Crescant Art touch marker, and I'm gonna cake it on here, right? So we're gonna test it out first, and then we're gonna see how it accepts the ink, and then we're gonna actually try and see if I cake it on, what's gonna happen. Okay, so I'm gonna use the bullet point. Right. Okay, goes on nice and smooth. And go ahead and okay. All right, do that. Accepts that marker really well. Let's see. There's not a lot of bleed. I mean, if you cake it on there like I did, right, because it's a wet medium, it bleeds a little bit. But if you're actually doing ink work, you know, it's gonna bleed out into the ink, so that's not really gonna be a problem. So that's good. And when you make just straight lines, it doesn't bleed at all. So that's nice. Okay, now we're gonna use that fat side, and we're just gonna really just cake it on there nice and juicy. All right, to see what's gonna happen. All right, so it's still wet, like I can see it. So it is pooling at the top, right? Because it is and you can see it, right? That nice shine that's happening right now. That is literally the ink sitting on top of the paper, and you can watch it dry. Like I'm seeing the line actually get smaller and smaller and smaller. So you can actually watch it and see, oh, okay, it's not dry yet, which I think is really cool that you can actually see it. Like in some paper, you never really know if it's dry or not. Well, in this paper, you could see it was just absorbed into the paper. Look at that, right? Okay, so it really accepts paper. You can lay it on nice and juicy. So it's a lot of ink on there, and then it dries, like it absorbs the paper, or the ink, so you can actually really see when it's dry and when it's not. So no longer do you have to worry about it. Like, oh man, I messed it up. So that's really cool. I like that. But the true test, right? The true test is going to be what's going to happen when I flip this page, right? When I flip this page, is it actually going to have bled through or not? Like that's the idea. So we're going to move this book over a little bit, okay? And here, okay, so one page, right? Oh, look at that. That is clean. There is nothing on the other side of that page. Wow. Now see, that's impressive. That is very impressive. I have no idea how they actually did that, but look at that. I mean, those people who know me, like I cake that stuff on, right? And you flip it over and there is nothing there. That's pretty impressive. Okay. All right, let's see if we can use a different color. All right, I'm gonna try and look at where it actually flowed in. Okay, so we're right about here. All right, so now I'm gonna use a different one, right? Just so you know. And I'm gonna test it, right? Same thing. Yes, I'm willing to utilize this page, maybe not draw on it, but we're gonna go ahead and cake this on, right? Again. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry because it like I said, it stays wet. So if it's wet, clearly, you know, gonna make lines, and you flip the page and it's gonna go on the other side and stuff like that. But we can, give it a second. I mean, that's pretty dry already, right? Now we caked it on. Like I poured on the marker, and so it's on there, right? No streaks, no nothing. So it is a completely covered page or spot, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen. All right. Let's see if it bled through to the other side. All right, move the page back over, the book back over. Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Look at that, no purple whatsoever, right? So we got the purple, and that pink didn't bleed through to the other side. And then you flip it back over, and none of that purple bled through the other side. That is amazing. Like, this is true marker paper. And it is thick, right? It's thick, so I can see the individual papers that they have that you could actually use and sell for commissions and stuff, and nobody feel cheated that they got paper, because that's pretty thick, right? So that's pretty good. That's amazing. Like, I am thoroughly impressed by the fact that this is actual paper that you can draw on both sides with marker and not have to worry about the other side. That's pretty sweet. All right, so I want to actually see a drawing in it, so I'm going to just scribble something real quick. We're going to go from pencils to ink, all right? Just a quick head real quick, right? Everyone knows I love me some ninjas, so we're going to do a random ninja. All right, so give him eyes, and then we'll pull this out. All right, eyeball here. Still like how it's holding down the pencil, right? It lays it down nice. You don't have to worry about much, right? And it's not overpowering, right? You don't have to really worry about seeing the line. It's just nice. It just flows really nicely onto this paper, right? I really do enjoy the fact that is on there. Like, like you can use, like I've used paper before to where it doesn't flow as nice, okay? And so the fact that this is actually, it's so smooth and so clear and clean that you can draw on it, and you feel, it's like it's gliding, right? It's like it's actually gliding across the paper. And so for that, I really appreciate that. It gives a nice feeling to it. So, all right, so there's the pencils. Went down nice, easy, not a problem. Let's go ahead and throw in some quick inks and see how that works. All right, layer some stuff up. All right, I have a very limited amount of markers that I'm going to be using. So we just want to go ahead and throw that out. All right, but I'll be using just some skin tones, and I got reds and purples, so we're not going to be going too crazy. Oh, one thing that I do have to test too, or that we will be testing with this, is whether or not, if you use an ink line, right, and then it bleeds out, like when the marker goes over it, does it bleed out? Does it pull up the ink, the inked line? Does it pull that up, or does it actually leave it there? So we'll probably have to let it sit for a sec. So I'm still going to be rushing it, obviously. So I'm sure that if you let it sit for a while, it'll give you a different result. But for the sake of this demo, we're going to go and test it pretty much when I'm done with this. We're just going to go, all right, well, let's see what happens. Okay. So there's no bleeding that I'm seeing with the marker or with the ink pen, so that's good. Right, you can come in and layer it. Okay. So far this paper is the real deal. It's really nice, it's really working. I do enjoy it thus far, but the true test will come from whether or not it's gonna pull up my inks, because I've had that happen a multitude of times and it just instantly pulls up the inks and it's like, whoa. And so you'll be doing a commission, and I'm sure some of you who've done commissions and whatnot will attest to the fact that you're like, whoa, wait a minute, this didn't work, you know? And you're like, wait, why is it pulling up my ink? And then you have to kind of redraw it or try and fix it, and it's just a major pain in the butt. So if there's a paper out there, and like I said, they have individual papers as well. So if there's a paper out there that you can actually use that doesn't pull up your inks once you're done markering, then I mean, that's just a win for everybody. All right, see how the inks, I mean, it's nice, the color holds, it's a nice strong black, it doesn't insto fade. And like, I've used paper to where when you put it on, it looks kind of ashy, and this is really holding up the ink. And I'm sure that it, you know, depending on what kind of pen you have, if you have a pen that has some really nice opaque ink in it, that it'll really stick out. So just keep that in mind. And I think I drew a little bit extra details, but I think we're gonna kind of leave those alone for the sake of time. Because I do believe that you get the point, at least. You know, you see it and you're like, all right, let's see how it bleeds. We're gonna see how it bleeds to the ink line. We're gonna see how it takes the ink and stuff like that, as far as bigger spaces. All right. So I'm just gonna come in and do this real quick. Then we're gonna let it sit for a second. Or actually, I'm going to just go to a place that I've already inked that should have been dry by now. That's good enough. I have some extra lines in there, but whatever. All right, so let's see. Colors, I'm completely using the Shinhan Art touch markers. Okay, that's what I'm using for these demos. And the main thing is, like, I'm not erasing anything, so the pencils are there. So if there are any pencil smudges, I'll tell you about that. But we're just gonna go ahead and test this paper out. All right, I'm actually gonna do this part, and then I'm gonna actually do the ink test, because I don't know. Oh, all right, let's see. Okay, so it didn't pull up anything there. All right, so I've went over a couple things. Let's see. Nope, doesn't look like it pulls up any of the ink, so that's a plus so far. Let's see, reds. Just gonna go ahead and, like I said, using the flat tip, so you know that a lot of ink is coming out. All right, we're just gonna come in, lay it down nice and thick. Okay. And you, like I said, you can see, I'm sure you can see it, you know, where it's wet, it's actually got a nice shine to it. But as I'm looking at this, you can actually see how it dries into the paper. So you really get a sense of, oh wait, that's still wet. I can't move that yet. So, all right, so we're went over some pencils. All right, I'm just gonna come in here and just kind of finish this off right here. All right, no need to marker the whole thing up. All right, okay, so coming in there. All right. Of course, you know, myself, I'm gonna fix where I went over the line because can't have that. Okay, so that's nice and red. I think that's decent enough. Oh, okay, so here's what I'm seeing. Okay, so you might not see how it's bleeding through. So there is some bleed. There is some bleed that happens. It generally happens with all paper. When you use the fat marker, it lets out a whole lot of extra ink. So this isn't as ink fast as it could be, but it's not necessarily something that's not anticipated with paper. So if you have something like, if you're coming up to the line of whatever it is you're trying to outline, just remember that it will still bleed, right? It is still paper, okay? Oh, and here's a thing. So, like I said, it's not as ink fast. So obviously, I was still right here. It was still a little wet, and I felt it when I went over it. But you know, so you should be working from left to right when you're doing this marker. That's not the paper's fault, okay? You just need to know that it does have. It does stay on top of the paper for a little bit, even though it dries really fast. You're going to have to keep in mind that it is wet. If you're using a wet media, it is a wet media on paper. So you need to give it a second, okay? It's not necessarily the paper's fault. Okay, we're going to use this. Okay, so now I'm coming in. I'm just going to do the face, the skin tone, and then that red. But, okay, just using a different color, trying to come in and just see what a nice two-tone would be. Oh, see, it does pick up. It did pick up some of that ink right there, but it was still wet. Right, so it seems as though you will need to give it some time to actually dry. And so we're gonna do, right before we're done here, we'll do a little ink test, because I firmly believe that it was because I just put that down, right? Like I just put that red down. So that ink line down. So I don't think it's fair to say that the paper wasn't ready for it, okay? All right, so I'm just gonna come in, we'll leave that way. Right, I'm going to come in with this thick one. Right, remember, if you're going to an edge, you got to make sure that you don't oversaturate it, because it will bleed out. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I do that. The way that I normally counteract that is by using the bullet tip. Right, okay, so there's that. And then we're going to come in here. Right, we'll give him maybe another, just something random right there. Not necessarily need to, but. All right, so there you go. Some quick colors on it, right? It's very bright, vibrant, holds the color really nice. I like it. We're gonna make this test now. So here's the thing. So we've made these colors up here. So if you make the line, right? If you're like, all right, I made this line, right? And then you're like, okay, I waited a second, and you start pulling the color, it does pull the ink, right? Because as we've established, it is a wet medium, right? So it's not the paper, but I want to see what happens when I go over these, right? And I'm going to use this very vibrant color, which normally pulls up ink. And I want to see that if, over the time, if it, was 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, something like that. And I want to see what's going to happen if we go over this. Didn't seem like it pulled. Nope. Well, it is pulling. No, it does pull some of the ink, okay? So it does. There you go. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay, but it does pull some of the ink. All right? And I think that's really natural, and it's probably with the pen, the marker working with the pen. If you can get a brand that has their own inking pens and stuff like that, or you found a brand that actually works, then that will suffice to that. But as long as you're conscious, if you're doing work like this and you're using your markers and you're leading up to lines, just make sure that you use the bullet tip and don't oversaturate it, because when I was doing that, if I pull straight through the black, it does pull some of the ink. So the paper does not stop that from happening. It is pretty quick drying though, as far as the marker goes. So that's really cool. And then like I said, there's that color. It holds it pretty nicely. So forgot, we got to flip it over and see what happens. Look at that. Nothing. Nothing. Not a single thing. I mean, but just like any other paper, you can see where, like, I've drawn, right? And so you're like, all right, cool. But that is not there, right? So this paper is holding up to what it says, and it doesn't bleed through. It does not bleed through. It is not like bleed proof, like it's not gonna stop bleeding because it is a wet medium on paper, but besides that, it holds the pencil really well, it holds the ink really well, and it holds marker. So, it's doing what it says. So, yeah. All right, so after testing, after doing the demo, after going through everything, the question still stands, is it worth it? And based on the marker, the paper that I've used before, and the tests that we've done here, Crescantart render paper is absolutely worth it. This is some great stuff, and it comes in this very awesome sketchbook, and they have multiple sizes, and hardback, softback, lie flats, and they do individual papers as well. And I have to say that this is great. I love this. Okay, this is a really good product. It holds up to what it says. It does not bleed through. And as long as you know the limitations to your tools, then you will understand that this is giving, or is delivering on everything that it says. So I highly recommend, if you're doing any type of media, even if it's pencils, inks, paint, marker, anything, if you're doing any type of sketch work, this paper is great, and it'll allow you to do a lot of finished product and it not look as though you're doing it in a sketchbook. This is very professional product. This is absolutely worth it. I'm gonna put a link in the description. If you're interested in getting it, please go ahead and pick it up. This, I highly recommend. Get this sketchbook. It is absolutely fantastic. Thank you guys so very much for joining me for another episode of Is It Worth It? If you haven't yet, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell button so you get notifications when I post new episodes. There's gonna be an episode every Friday, so please, please, please go ahead and subscribe. And if you have any comments, or if you'd like to see me do any type of reviews on some type of other product, please drop me a comment and I will work it into the schedule. Thank you again, and I hope to see you at the next episode. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to check out some of my other videos, click on the link on your right. Or, if you're interested in a more behind-the-scenes and personal look at what I do on a day-to-day basis, please click on the link that leads you to the vlog. Thank you very much, and we'll see you at the next video.